toward a woman standing by the counter. "Wanda, I've enjoyed knowing you," he said. "And I want you to know that I haven't had meals this good since my own mother was the cook." "You're not leaving, are you?" "Yes, ma'am, I am." Wanda's eyes brimmed with tears, and she opened her arms, inviting him in for a hug. "It won't be the same without you. Waggy and I will miss you. Listen, when we get back to Robinson, why don't you come back to St. Louis with me?" Dan asked. Lucas shook his head. "No, I'll be going the other way." "Where will you go?" "You know better than to ask that." "And you wouldn't like to go back to St. Louis for just a little while? At least until you sort of get your bearings?" "No, I just need to go." "Don't forget me, Lucas. We've been through too much together." "Dan, you aren't just part of my memories. You're part of my very existence. I promise you, I won't forget you." The two men shook hands, holding the grip a little longer than usual. I better get going," Dan said. "I don't want to miss my train." Lucas nodded, then turned away. He riding in one direction, while Dan rode in the other. Sometime later, Lucas found himself in the village of Taos, New Mexico. He heard music and laughter spilling out from one of the buildings, and a sign out front identified it as a cantina, though there was no name for the establishment. Lucas stopped his horse in front of a watering trough. "I don't care whether it has a name or not, Charlie, as long as they serve beer." After Charlie had drunk his fill, Lucas led him over to the cantina and tied him off to the hitching rail out front. It was cooler inside due to the lack of sun and to the half-dozen evaporative coolers. As the large pots of water evaporated, the adjacent temperature was lowered by a few degrees. The bartender was a heavy-set man with a black mustache, black hair, and brown eyes. "Si, senor," he said as Lucas stepped up to the bar. "You have beer?" "Si." "Then I'll have a beer." Lucas watched as the bartender filled a mug with the golden liquid. He paid for it, took a long, satisfying drink, then turned his back to the bar to have a look around the place. The clientele of the bar was a mixture of Anglos and Hispanics, though with considerably more Anglos. There were 3 men sitting at a table just in front of Lucas, having an intense conversation. "They say the reward's worth $500 now," one of the men said. "Yeah, well, I wouldn't go after the son of a bitch for $1,000. Frank Baylor's a killer, he is. And to think, his mama's buried in our cemetery." "What's that got to do with anything? Stella Baylor was as fine a woman as ever graced the streets of Taos. And if she knowed what Frank done over in Valle Escondido, she'd be turning over in her grave, I say." "Well, somebody's got to stop him before he kills another kid. The word is he killed Asa Bloomfield, and a 10-year-old boy who just came in for a penny sack of candy," one of the men said. "Now that there's plumb unholy. But do you think anybody's going after him? No. That's what I say. If you're all so fired upset, why don't you go down to the marshal's office and volunteer to ride after old Frank? 'Cause I got me a wife and kids, that's why. Like you said, Frank Baylor is a killer." "Excuse me," Lucas said, interrupting the conversation. "I'm sorry to be eavesdropping, but when did this happen? I think you said it involved a man named Frank Baylor. Was it here in Taos?" "No, it was in Valle Escondido. It's no more than 10 or 12 miles east of here. If you take the road east out of town, a few miles down the road, you'll see a sign telling you which way to go." Lucas nodded his head. "Are you going after him?" "But that depends. What'd you say the reward was?" The men all laughed. "What'd you say your name was?" "I didn't say. But you didn't tell me the reward." "Last we heard it's $500, but after what he did in Valle Escondido, I'll bet them fine folks there added to the reward," one of the men said. "Folks don't take kindly to what he did." "Nah, I wouldn't think they would. I believe I might just look up this Frank Baylor. I'll tell you this, mister, if you find him, you'll have everyone's thanks." Lucas smiled. "Thanks are nice." but I'd rather have the money.